Attack of the Flying Monkeys. This is Radical Self-Respect with Jared Mello. I have a ebook and audiobook by the same name. But I want to jump right into the content today because what I'm about to show you is exactly what happened to me about 2 days ago. And anyone who's dated or has a narcissistic family member knows they're two different animals because we have to play the scenarios a little bit differently. In the romantic world, we can simply go no contact, and other than them badgering and hoovering us to come back, that's pretty much all we have to deal with. But with family, it's a little bit different. And so I was a little annoyed to see this text message the other day from my aunt. And she had said, "Oh, Jared Lee," and I'm going to split screen this here too, but she said, "Oh, your cousin thinks you blocked him, so he asked me to send this to you that he had tried to send to you from January." And it was just like, "Unblock me, bro. Life's too short. We should forgive each other. And I apologize for all the things I've done. And I'm family. I love you." And he's just playing directly into the narcissistic playbook, which is what? When they want to hoover, they'll love bomb hoover in a way, and they'll do anything to get back into our lives. They'll act like an emotionally healthy person, but that's the thing. They don't change. And it's harder for me even to take my own advice in my own life, because if someone else were to be telling me this story, I would simply say, yeah, they didn't change, don't talk to them. But when you're in that situation, it is a little more difficult, and I'll explain why. And so, with him, he hasn't talked to my little brother in years as well, but he only cares about talking to me for some reason. And my little brother, his wife just lost a child. They had a miscarriage, and he still didn't even reach out to them, but yet he still finds it very important to try to talk to me. And he acts like he doesn't even know what he did. Why is it so important that he talks to me? Well, before my radical self-respect days, I used to allow him to disrespect me and talk down to me all the time. And it wasn't until I finally put my foot down and I had an aha moment and things started changing for me, did my relationship with my cousin start to go poorly. Everything was fine until I decided to have a boundary. And notice, our narcissistic family members, they're constantly going to talk about our misgivings, our defects, the things we have done wrong. And that's what he would do to me. And then finally one day, I had lost it and I'd said, you know what? It's not really good to beat women either, because that's what his ex-girlfriend told me he had done to her and multiple of his previous relationships. So I said, you know what? It's not good to beat women either. And then he didn't talk to me again for months. And that's another hallmark of what happens with a narcissist. They'll get extremely mad at us for the same things that they do to us. When we match their effort, when we match their actions and energy, and they get angry, that's a red flag. And so, finally, after another family function, narcissists love family functions, mind you, we kind of actually started talking again because, again, this is pre-radical self-respect for me. And we had talked, and guess what? The same things began to happen again. And I tried to have a boundary, and I was told the following for having a boundary. I was told I'm crazy and I need help. I was told I'm a loser for not doing anything with my life. He would also threaten me to tell my parents things I've done wrong in my life, and just went on and on and on, just for trying to have a boundary. And I always say this expression because it's so true, but the only people who will be upset when we have a boundary are the people who benefited from us having none. And if someone gets extremely angry when we have a boundary, it's just further evidence that the boundary was needed in the first place. And so these are all the things he would do to me, gaslighting, etc. And it'd be great if that's just where it would stay. It's like, okay, I can go no contact. He can pretend he doesn't know why I'm going no contact, but that's on him. But here's the thing. More than likely, they're trying to do a smear campaign behind our back, trying to control other people's perceptions of us by smearing us to them. And I'm sure he's probably done this to me. And then my family there are certainly some toxic traits within my immediate family and aunts and uncles and grandparents, etc., where they act like I'm the one who has the problem for having a boundary. And after all, it's just family, and we should all just get along, right? And so what they'll do is they guilt and shame me for having the boundary. And they're constantly bringing him up to me saying, oh, did you hear about this great thing that he did? Oh, he's trying to help you out so much in this way. Which reminds me of another thing. Don't ever accept favors from abusers. Because the only thing that'll happen is they'll think you owe them. And they'll hold it over your head later. So just say no. But back to what I was saying. They'll try to mention them all the time. And the whole goal is to guilt and shame us into caving in, into having contact with that person again. And I admit, I feel the guilt from not talking to this person. I have worked really hard on my people-pleasing behavior, but it's extra annoying when it's coming from family, from people you love. And it's like, you would wish that they would just say, Jared, it's okay, you have your boundary. And we wouldn't want you to have to deal with anyone who was going to abuse you and treat you poorly. But that's just not how it goes. They say, when I was talking to my aunt, the person that text message was with, I had sent her 6 tips for cutting off a narcissistic family member. And to which, because I don't really want to discuss this with them because I'll just get some BS answers is what I'll get. And so what she said to me was, so once someone's out of your life, they're out of your life forever? And I just said, we'll see, because I'm not going to engage them. It doesn't matter what they think. It matters what I think. It matters what my boundaries are. And that's it. I might have to deal with this person in future family functions, unless I choose to not engage in the whole family function, but I'll plan on being civil. But I'm not going to allow someone to guilt and shame me into talking to someone that is almost certainly going to try to start treating me the same ways once I would let them back into my life. And that's just what they do. And if you have experiences out there with a similar thing where maybe you did decide to let the family member back in, tell us what happened in the comments. Did it work? Did they go back to their same old ways? Or did they actually change? I don't like to say they can change because that puts the thought in someone's mind who may be struggling with guilt, people-pleasing, codependency, and say, oh, they can be the person that changed. They can be that person. Just to find out they cannot be that person, and they go back to the same old abuse. And it's like, none of us have to accept abuse. No one. And like I said, it's super difficult when family guilts us, when they shame us for having the boundary. Instead of telling the abusing person, hey, be chill, man, be cool. Like, what the hell did you do to them to begin with for them to feel like they had to cut you off? They don't go that route. The more toxic families go, the person who has the boundary is the one at fault. Oh, why can't they just get along? Why can't they just be a little more reasonable? Or maybe they're just being a little too negative. And this is what happens. And I'm not immune. I'm not immune to the guilt and the codependency I may still have. It's like, I'm not immune from it. I feel it. I feel it. And part of the reason why I'm sharing this video today is so I can cement for myself, no, Jared, you're not going to reach out to him. You're not going to let people guilt you about your boundaries. And I think having those reminders out there is extremely priceless. And we can all be weak at some points. We can all tilt and be on the seesaw about what we want to do. But sometimes I'll go on to a YouTube channel, like maybe Dr. Ramani or something, and I'll listen. And I'll be like, that's a breath of fresh air. Because it's exactly what I needed to hear. And I know in one of my other videos about a romantic relationship with a narcissist, I mentioned we should stop watching and obsessively watching the narcissistic videos, which I think is true for the romantic setting. But when it comes to family, like I said in the beginning of this video, it's not so cut and dry. And so sometimes I think we should go back when it comes to family for refreshers and to get kind of like a jolt of faith and strength to say, you know what? No, They don't change. I've heard enough people's experiences that they don't change. My boundary is final. And there's no contact or the least amount of contact necessary. And I'm not going to let them rob me of my joy by making me feel guilty about it. Because that's the other thing it serves to do. When you're racked with guilt, what are you not feeling? Happy. You're not feeling joy. So it's like, forget all that. Trust yourself. Trust your own boundaries. And this goes for me too, of course. Trust myself. Trust my boundaries. Trust my experience. Trust that the only things that would continue is more gaslighting and more narcissistic abuse, and we never, ever need that. And the other cool thing about what I sent my aunt was, he was going through the checklist one by one of the 6 items. And of course, he employed my aunt to be a flying monkey for him to try to get me by screenshotting his text messages that he was trying to send to me, but I blocked his number. So it's just the lengths they go through to get what they want, to get another supply that they can feel like they're better than, that they can use as their own personal punching bags and talk down to them and abuse them. And that's all that will happen. In the beginning, might be a little love bomby, etc. Oh, we'll do some good things for you, try to help you out in every way. But it's just a matter of time before their nature catches up to them and they're back to the same old tricks. And then we're feeling shame and guilt again for being silly enough to let them back in. Let's skip that step, the letting them back in part, and just say, you know what? That's it. I'll deal with them when I absolutely have to at family functions, and that is it. So hopefully this video is able to help someone out there that's in a similar circumstance. Maybe you've been hoovered by a family member recently, or maybe you've been hoovered by a narcissist that was a former romantic partner. Whatever it is, don't cave. Your boundaries are sacred, and they deserve to be respected. And it starts with us. Richard Grandin had said, the abuse and the hoovering, it doesn't work until our codependency opens the door to letting them back in our lives. All we have to do is not open that door, and they can't hurt us anymore. So that's my video for today. Please do like, comment, share, subscribe, etc. Share my content with others whom you think might benefit from learning about radical self-respect. And thank you to everyone who's been buying my ebook and audiobook. It's been pretty cool to see the numbers I've been getting. And that kind of stuff, radical self-respect, is great for people dealing with what? Narcissistic abuse. Dealing with hoovering. And having the courage and the strength to have our boundaries be solid and firm. So again, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.